Hello students, welcome to MOOC's program on hematinics. This is second topic of the second unit of subject pharmacology 2 and subject code is BP 503T. Myself Geetika Mehta, assistant professor in pharmacology at Rajkumar Goel Institute of Technology, Pharmacy, Ghaziabad. So, in this we will study about blood forming agents, that are hematinics. So, hematinics, these are the agents which are required in the formation of blood and used for the treatment of anemia. Essential hematinics are iron, vitamin B12 and folic acids. So, hematinics are known as blood forming agents. So, we require for the treatment of anemia. Now, what is anemia? Anemia is the condition in which number of the red blood cells and their oxygen carrying capacity is insufficient to meet physiological need of body. Number of the red blood cells and oxygen carrying capacity is insufficient to meet metabolic need of the body. So, we have already studied different kinds of anemia like iron deficiency anemia, pernicious anemia, megaloblastic anemia, sickle cell anemia. Among this, iron deficiency anemia is the most common type of anemia. So, anemia occurs whenever there is the blood loss, and this blood loss can be acute like hemorrhage or it can be chronic like GI blood loss like during the ulcers. Anemia, it can also occur because of the impaired RBC formation due to the deficiency of iron, vitamin B12 and folic acid, or it can be due to the bone marrow depression. Anemia, it can also occur because of the increased destruction of RBC. Now, in hematinics, we will cover iron, B12 and folic acid mainly. So, first is the iron. As we know, iron is essential for hemoglobin production. Each molecule of hemoglobin has 4 iron containing residue. Total body iron is 2.5 to 5 grams, of which maximum amount is present in hemoglobin. Loss of 100 ml of the blood means loss of 50 milligram elemental iron, and to raise the hemoglobin level of blood by 1 gram per dl, about 200 mg of iron is needed. So, iron, how it is stored in the body? Iron is stored in the ferric form with the protein apoferritin. So, apoferritin form complex with the ferric and form ferritin, which aggregates and form hemosiderin, and then it is stored. So, distribution of iron in the body. As I have told that hemoglobin require 4 molecules of the iron. So, hemoglobin, iron is present in the hemoglobin, 66% of the iron is present in the hemoglobin. Storage form ferritin and hemosiderin, 25% is stored as ferritin and hemosiderin, 3% in the muscle in myoglobin and 6% in the enzyme, for example, cytochrome. Daily iron requirement varies from males to females. In adult male it is 0.5 to 1 mg, in adult female it is 1 to 2 milligram in menstruating woman, and in children it is 25 microgram per kg, and during the pregnancy iron requirement is increased. What are the dietary sources of the iron? we all know that iron rich food are liver, egg yolk, dry fruits, wheat germ, spinach, meat, chicken, fish, banana and apple. Now, we will understand how iron is absorbed. We will learn about this. So, dietary iron is either exists as heme or it either exists as inorganic iron, that is ferric form. So, heme iron is present in the meat, it is absorbed faster and it is absorbed as such. It does not dissociate further, it is absorbed as such, while inorganic iron is present in grains and vegetable. It is absorbed slowly and needs to be dissociated from organic compounds. So, ferric in the presence of ferroreductase is converted into ferrous, which is then absorbed through the intestinal mucosa. Now, for the absorption, the two separate iron transporters are present in the intestinal mucosal cell, which function to effect the iron absorption. One is divalent metal transporter 1, DMT1, and other is ferroportin. Divalent metal transporter 1, it carries ferrous ion into the mucosal cell. Ferroportin, they are bound with the ferrous iron and pass through mucosal cell directly into the blood stream. We can better understand with the help of this diagram. So, this diagram tells how iron is absorbed, transported, utilized and stored in our body. So, average daily diet contains 10 to 20 milligram of iron, of which 10% is absorbed from all over the intestine. Majority is absorbed from the upper part of the intestine. So, dietary iron, as I have told you, it either exists as ferric and or heme. This is non-heme iron. So, heme is absorbed as such through the mucosal cell, but ferric is converted into the ferrous, and this ferrous with the help of, by utilizing the DMT1, by utilizing the DMT transporter which is present on the intestinal mucosa, this ferrous is absorbed inside the mucosal cell. Now, this ferrous with the help of ferroportin is transported to the plasma, In plasma again ferrous is converted into ferric, and this ferric binds with the transferrin. This is transferrin, another transporter. This transferrin has two binding sites for ferric. This ferric, two molecules of the ferric binds with the transferrin and then it form a complex. This complex then goes to the erythrocytes and other cells. This ferrous is also stored inside the reticuloendothelium cells as the ferritin, and this complex of transferrin along with the two molecule of the ferric binds to the transferrin receptor. This transferrin receptor is present on the membrane of erythrocytes. Then there will be the endocytosis, and then ferrous will be released, and this ferrous will be utilized for the formation of hemoglobin, and this released TFR, transferrin receptor, and transferrin will come back for further iron load. So, this is how iron is absorbed, transported and utilized and stored. So, for the absorption it needs DMT1 and then it needs FP1 ferroportin, and there is also transferrin which bind to two molecules of the ferric. It is stored in the reticuloendothelium cells as a ferritin, and then iron is released and utilized for the formation of hemoglobin. So, this is again same thing. So, on entering plasma, ferrous is immediately converted to the ferric form and form complex with the glycoprotein transferrin, which has two binding sites for ferric ions. Iron is transported into erythropoietic and other cells, through the attachment of transferrin to specific membrane bound transferrin receptors. This complex is engulfed by receptor mediated endocytosis, and iron dissociates from the complex at acidic pH of the intracellular vesicle, and released iron is used for the hemoglobin synthesis, and transferrin receptors are returned to the cell surface to carry fresh iron load. So, this was the absorption, transportation, utilization, and now is storage of the iron. So, iron is stored in reticuloendothelial cells in liver, spleen, bone marrow, as well as in hepatocytes and myocytes as ferritin and hemosiderin. Daily excretion of the iron in adult male is 0.5 to 1 mg, mainly as exfoliated GI mucosal cell, some RBCs and in bile. So, which is lost in the feces. Other routes of excretion are skin, little amount in the urine and sweat. In menstruating woman, monthly menstrual loss is 0.5 to 1 mg per day. So, next is the preparations. Iron is mostly given as orally, but it can be given also as parenterally. So, oral preparations are ferrous sulphate 200 mg, ferrous succinate, iron choline citrate, ferric ammonium citrate and ferric gluconate. Adverse effects of the oral iron preparations are epigastric pain. Gastritis may occur with the initially, especially with the intake of the iron, nausea, vomiting, metallic taste, staining of the teeth, blackening of the stool, constipation or diarrhea. Constipation occur because of the astringent effect and diarrhea occur because of the irritant effect. This constipation is more common with the oral iron preparation and also the gastritis, epigastric pain. So, this is the most common adverse effect with the oral iron, metallic taste also. So, parenteral irons can also be given when the oral iron is not tolerated. So, parenteral iron, they are given parenterally as deep intramuscular injection or intravenously only in following indications: when oral iron is not tolerated because it may lead to bowel upset, gastritis, and if there is a failure to absorb oral iron, that is malabsorption of iron, non-compliance to oral iron, again that metallic taste and gastritis, in severe deficiency with chronic bleeding. Whenever there is a severe deficiency, so we can give iron parenterally and also given along with erythropoietin. So, parenteral preparations are iron dextran, iron sorbitol and citric acid, iron sucrose and sodium ferric gluconate. What are the adverse effects of the parenteral iron? It may cause pain at the site of injection, pigmentation of the skin, headache, joint pain, palpitation, urticaria, nausea and rarely anaphylaxis. Now, what are the uses of iron? Iron is used in iron deficiency anemia, both in the treatment and prophylaxis of iron deficiency. As I told you that iron deficiency anemia is most common type of anemia and responsible for the morbidity and mortality all over the world. So, iron is used for the prophylaxis, that is prevention and treatment of iron deficiency anemia. Apart from this, iron is given during the increased requirement, like during pregnancy, infancy and professional blood donors, they need more iron than the normal adults. So, what is acute iron poisoning? So, acute iron poisoning is more common in infants and children. 1 to 2 gram can be lethal. So, symptoms of acute iron poisoning are vomiting, abdominal pain, hematemesis, that is blood in vomiting, bloody diarrhea, shock, drowsiness, acidosis, dehydration and cardiovascular collapse. So, there is a immediate treatment is required for the acute iron poisoning. For this, what is the treatment? Treatment is to remove the iron. So, for this gastric lavage is done with sodium bicarbonate. We can give egg yolk and milk orally because it forms a complex with the iron. Activated charcoal does not absorb iron. So, for this we can also give antidote. Desferoxamine is an antidote for the iron poisoning. It can be given intravenously or intramuscularly, which prevents iron absorption. They also need to correct acidosis and shock. So, this is the symptoms and treatment of iron poisoning. And next factor, next hematinics is vitamin B12 and folic acid. So, both are known as maturation factors. These are water soluble B complex group vitamin and essential for the normal DNA synthesis. Daily requirements of vitamin B12 and folic acid is vitamin B12 in adults is requirement is 1 to 3 microgram, and during pregnancy requirement is increased. So, it is 3 to 5 microgram. Folic acid 50 to 100 microgram in adults, during pregnancy it is increased to 200 to 400 microgram. So, vitamin B12 and folic acid is, they are the B complex group vitamins and essential for the normal DNA synthesis. Deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid leads to megaloblastic anemia. Megaloblastic anemia occur because of the deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid. So, it results in impaired DNA synthesis and abnormal maturation of RBCs. Other symptoms are glossitis and the stomatitis. In glossitis, there is the swelling on the tongue, and in the stomatitis, there are the ulcer in the oral mucosa, chale, padna stomatitis. So, other neurological manifestation, neuropathies, they are the symptoms of the neuropathies, subacute degeneration of the spinal cord, peripheral neuritis, that is numbness in the extremities. So, these are the manifestations of deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid, that is megaloblastic anemia. So, first is vitamin B12, which is also known as cyanocobalamin. It is complex cobalt containing compounds cyanocobalamin and hydroxycobalamin. It is synthesized by microorganisms. Plants and animals acquire it from the microorganism. Dietary sources for vitamin B12 are liver, kidney, sea fish, egg yolk, meat and cheese. Two active coenzymes forms of vitamin B12 are deoxyadenosylcobalamin and methylcobalamin. So, these are the two active coenzyme forms of the vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 deficiency occur due to the Addisonian pernicious anemia. It is an autoimmune disorder and which results in the deficiency of intrinsic factor. As we know, for the absorption of vitamin B12, intrinsic factor is required, intrinsic factor is present. So, for that vitamin B12 can be absorbed only in the presence of the intrinsic factor. So, when there is a deficiency of the intrinsic factor, so due to the destruction of gastric parietal cell, so there it will be unable to absorb vitamin B12 and that will result in the pernicious anemia. Other causes of the vitamin B12 are chronic gastritis, gastrectomy, malabsorption, infestation of the fish tapeworm. So, infestation with the worms also lead to the vitamin B12 deficiency. So, how it is absorbed? Vitamin B12, as I told you, for the absorption it needs intrinsic factor, it needs intrinsic factor. So, vitamin B12 is absorbed in the intestine with the help of intrinsic factor which is present on the parietal cells. Okay? It is transported in the blood by transcobalamin. It is transported in the blood by transcobalamin to the liver for storage, to the liver for the storage and to the erythrocytes, cell to facilitate conversion of methyl tetrahydrofolic acid for the conversion of methyl tetrahydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid. This tetrahydrofolic acid is required for the DNA synthesis. So, vitamin B12 is not degraded in the body, it is excreted mainly in the bile. So, we need to remember that absorption of the vitamin B12 occur in the presence of intrinsic factor and it is required for the conversion to the tetrahydrofolic acid which is required for the DNA synthesis. Now, what are the function of vitamin B12? Vitamin B12 act as a cofactor in following reaction: conversion of homocysteine to methionine, and methionine is methyl group donor in metabolic reaction. It is also required for the purine and pyrimidine synthesis which is required for the DNA synthesis. Malonic acid in the presence of vitamin B12 converts into the succinic acid and this is important for the propionic acid metabolism. Vitamin B12 is also required for the cell growth and multiplication. So, what are the preparations and uses of vitamin B12? So, vitamin B12 is directly and completely absorbed after intramuscular or deep subcutaneous injection. Cyanocobalamin and hydroxycobalamin and this dose is given. Mostly it is available as the combination preparation along with other vitamins. So, as we know, vitamin B12 will be can be used in the treatment of the vitamin B12 deficiency and which vitamin B12 deficiency is megaloblastic anemia, because there is the defect in the metabolism of vitamin B12 or folic acid. Pernicious anemia, when the body is not able to absorb oral vitamin B12 due to the lack of intrinsic factor. So, in pernicious anemia we cannot give it as orally. So, parenterally is given either intramuscularly or subcutaneously, because in pernicious anemia intrinsic factor is not present. It is also used for the prophylaxis, that is prevention of the vitamin B12 deficiency, the 3 to 10 microgram daily, and neurological conditions like neuropathies, trigeminal neuralgia, multiple sclerosis and psychiatric disorder. So, vitamin B12 is given for the treatment of B12 deficiency, for the prophylaxis, and in various neurological conditions we give vitamin B12. Next is folic acid. Folic acid is stearoyl glutamic acid. It is pteridine along with para-aminobenzoic acid, PABA, and glutamic acid. So, dietary sources are liver, green leafy vegetable, spinach, yeast, egg, milk. So, present in the food as polyglutamates, absorption in the duodenum and jejunum, transported in the blood as methyl tetrahydrofolic acid by active and passive transport, stored in the cell as polyglutamate. Liver takes up large parts and secretes methyl tetrahydrofolic acid in the bile. So, its function is the biosynthesis of the purine. So, folic acid in the presence of folate reductase is converted into the dihydrofolic acid, and dihydrofolic acid is converted into the tetrahydrofolic acid, which is required for the DNA synthesis. So, deficiency of folic acid leads to megaloblastic anemia. Deficiency also can occur because of the dietary deficiency of the folic acid, malabsorption, epithelial damage, weight loss, and some drugs like phenytoin, phenobarbital, methotrexate, oral contraceptive, they can also induce folate deficiency. So, folic acid and folinic acid, they are the preparation that is given for the treatment and prevention of the folic acid deficiency in the megaloblastic anemia, in folic acid deficiency, during the growth in infants and in pregnancy. Last in this is erythropoietin. As we know, erythropoietin is a hormone secreted by the peritubular cells of kidney. It is essential for the normal erythropoiesis. Kidney cells release erythropoietin in response to anemia and hypoxia. Erythropoietin binds to erythropoietin receptor on red cell progenitors and stimulates red cell production. So, erythropoietin responsible erythropoiesis, that is red cell production, It induces hemoglobin formation and erythroblast maturation. It releases reticulocytes in the circulation. Recombinant human erythropoietin is available as epoetin alpha, epoetin beta, and darbepoetin alpha. This has a longer half life, given once a week and administered by intravenously or subcutaneously. What are the uses of erythropoietin? Erythropoietin is used in the treatment of anemia due to chronic renal failure if the hemoglobin is less than 8 mg per dl. It is also used during the zidovudine therapy in AIDS patient because of the cancer chemotherapy. So, anemia may occur because of any of the reason, and there erythropoietin is used. Multiple myelomas and cancer of bone marrow. What are the adverse effects? So, with the sudden rise of the hematocrit, so with the erythropoietin, HP level should not exceed 12 gram per dl. So, there will be rise in the hematocrit. So, increased clot formation in the AV shunt, hypertensive episodes, serious thromboembolic events may occur and flu-like symptoms may appear with the treatment of erythropoietin. So, these are the different types of hematinics, that is the blood forming agents, in which most important are iron, vitamin B12 and folic acid. So, these are the references. So, that is all. Thank you.